The final episode is brought to you by the following Big Dog tier members: Candy Penwell, Jamie Braskett, Rosalie Morris, Andrea Moore, Jessica Fox, Sean Wick, David Hooks, and Brent Holiday. Are you looking to be more involved in the Dog Pound community? If so, please visit patreon.com/dogwithabone. For just $1 a month, you can help support Dog with a Bone's mission. Please visit our page to learn about the multiple tiers that will give you access to behind-the-scenes content, outtakes, documents, photos, videos, and live monthly events with me. I thank you for your continued support and consideration. Warning: this episode contains adult content and listener discretion is advised. All views and opinions expressed by Dog with a Bone guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or the contributors. And welcome back to Dog with a Bone. If you have not already, please join our Dog with a Bone discussion Facebook page where you can meet other listeners and discuss the episodes as we move through the season. There will be a ton to talk about. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Dog with a Bone on Spotify or wherever you listen so you get notified when episodes are released. Welcome, everyone, to the final episode of Season 2. I cannot believe we made it. In this last episode, I'm going to walk us through how Donald openly pushed and criticized the sheriff's office on how they handled Mackenzie's investigation, or as I like to say, lack of investigation. Donald started his own investigation and obtained more evidence than the sheriff's office ever did or had. I said from the start of this season that Donald was different from the other families I have worked with in regards to him being so actively involved in the investigation and in the season. He's very vocal and he pushes for answers, as he should, on what happened and who is responsible for the murder and sexual assault of his daughter, Mackenzie. When he started his investigation, he went live on YouTube and decided to call out the sheriff's office over and over and over again. As you can imagine, the sheriff's office did not like being put on blast, showing just how incompetent and corrupt they were. When I first talked to Donald, again, this case has twists and turns at every corner. He told me that somebody had put a hit on his head. And I was shocked and said, okay, are we really in a movie here? Is this real life? I said, who put the hit on your head? That just sounds so crazy, like it would be in a movie. And he said, it was Vernon. Vernon the sheriff? He said, yep. Donald walks me through what happened when another cop came to his house and warned him about this hit. Donald decided to take this information to the FBI.
Their problem is how the law is wrote up here in Ohio about being invite. And it's stupid. Like FBI, they know a cop on video told them, hey, the sheriff put a hit on this man's head. He's going to have him killed.
Why?
Because they're not invited into this case.
Why would the sheriff invite them if he's the one who did the hit?
Amen. This is an actual cop. And if the cop's lying to me, then they ought to charge the cop for trying to cause panic or whatever. I could have said, whoa, man, and went and killed this sheriff before he killed me. But if the cop's telling the truth, then why is this sheriff still a sheriff when he tried to put a hit out on a father that's just trying to find out who murdered his kid? I had the sheriffs come to my house. After I started investigating this, I had a bedroom where I had stuff on the wall where I was doing my own investigation. And the sheriff walked in And he asked to search my house, and he went in my house and he saw all the stuff I had on the wall. And at that time, I did have Mary Ann's name, Kenny's name, William's name, and Mike Stiegel's name on the wall. I was investigating them. And he made me take everything down off my walls, everything, or I'd be arrested. Then he had a sheriff deputy came out to my house. They harassed me, asked if I drove by a house, looked at a girl on a riding lawnmower at 55 miles per hour. Why was I staring at a girl? Then they came to my house and asked me, did I give somebody a middle finger? Then the sheriff contacted DCI, had me investigated, saying that I was paying people thousands of dollars not to vote for him as sheriff. But they could not find the person that made the complaint.
So it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
This is how much I've been harassed.
I believe the sheriff's office should spend more time investigating a homicide and sexual assault of an 8-year-old rather than worrying about votes. But maybe that's just me. Donald, again, has completed more investigation than the detectives who have ever been assigned this case. Fayette County then shows up at Donald's house wanting this information that he gathered when they should have already had this information by the time Donald started his investigation. But they didn't. This brings me back to my original question when I met with Vernon on whether or not people were afraid to come forward due to the corruption of the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. Vernon's response was this.
No one has fresh information. No one has ever come forward and said, here's what happened, or we need to look here.
Another individual did come forward besides the neighbors and Amanda Kay's affidavit that Donald told me about.
This letter was wrote by a girl, and she walked in the fire department, handed the letter to the fireman, and walked out. The fireman opened up the letter, read it, and it was about Mackenzie's fire. John Hicks read the letter. They found out who wrote the letter, brought that person in. He interviewed her 4 times, and he said, she knows who did this. She knows who did this, or she was there when the fire was set. Well, Vernon told me nothing came out of the letter. They don't care no more. There was nothing. And the fire marshal said, he's a liar. That letter is important. And he said, he's lying to you, Donald. I told you, quit listening to the sheriff. He's lying to you. So this person that wrote this letter knows about that fire.
Do you know who it is?
No. Vernon, a year ago, I talked to him, and he was supposed to call me in 2 weeks and come in. He was going to let me read the letter and tell me, never has.
When I was with Vernon, I had asked him about this letter specifically.
I don't recall what the letter said, so I don't want to misspeak. But it was, we thought this person had to have, whoever wrote the letter, the content of the letter. I don't want to say what's in there. I don't have that recollection. But it was alluding that this person had a conversation with Mackenzie and about a dream and about somebody doing stuff to her and others. We had found out that this was one of her classmates. I think she was looking for attention. So she created this letter and the stink behind it. She rode her bicycle up to the firehouse and handed this letter to the fireman and disappeared into the darkness.
When she came up, she was still a little girl?
Not an 8-year-old, but a 13, 14-year-old.
Oh, okay, so she was older.
And the years had passed, and they dropped this letter off. And the fireman said, whoa. And so we get the letter, and we had no idea who this person was. And I think John is the one that actually found out who she was and interviewed her and found out that this really wasn't what it was perpetuated to be. And we really thought this person had firsthand knowledge, but it really wasn't. Once again, it adds to that mystique.
My plea to the person who dropped off this letter at the fire station, please, please, please reach out to me to help Mackenzie's case. Donald has not been able to read this letter, even though Vernon has said multiple times he would let him. Vernon claims that this letter was nothing of importance. But the fire marshal believes differently. I think someone else besides Vernon needs to read this letter and then interview that person since we know who she is. So again, if you were the one to drop off the letter at the fire station, please reach out to me. You can remain anonymous if you'd like. We have another person who had come forward with detailed information and was ignored. Who's that person? Her name is Cynthia Wilson. She had first-hand account of an interaction that she had with Mary Ann after Mackenzie's murder, and she never heard back from Fayette County when she reported it. Cynthia decided to write a letter out explaining her interaction and sent the letter certified to Vernon and the prosecutor David Bender at the time. Here's what the letter said.
In reference to the Mackenzie Brenham murder. As an experienced investigative reporter, I believe that these two incidents succeeded Mackenzie Brenham's murder warranted notification of law enforcement. First incident. Approximately a month after Mackenzie's murder, I entered the VFW and ordered a coffee from the VFW bartender, Mary Brenham. There was no one sitting in that area at the time of my arrival. I asked Mary how she was doing. Mary Brenham seemed to be in rare form, a melancholy state of mind. Mary looked at me, then stared at the floor and said, to my best recollection, Mackenzie, she looked to be peaceful. Mary stood there by her bed looking at her, and she said she looked like she was sleeping. She, Mackenzie, did not suffer. Mary Brenham immediately snapped out of her melancholy state of mind and had a fixed stare on me of pure panic. Mary Brenham walked away, and from that day forward, Mary Brenham and Kenny Mossbarger never talked to me again, played pool, or sat near me. My immediate thought was, when did Mackenzie look like she was sleeping and didn't suffer? I have no doubt that Mary Brenham saw suspicion in my eyes. I reported this to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office.
Cynthia's statement and interaction with Marian lines up with what we've suspected all along, that Marian went up to kiss Mackenzie goodnight and goodbye. They knew what they were planning. This could also explain the urgency in Jamie coming over that night. No mother would say these things if their child died in a fire about how peaceful she looked and that she didn't suffer.
Mike Wilson, the manager of VFW, had been fired on August of 2008. His VFW bartender friend, Teresa Chafin, had contacted my husband. According to Mike, she was seriously distraught, so he went to her home. When I confronted Mike about his visit with Teresa, he admitted that she was in serious danger if the event from the previous evening ever saw the light of day. Mike told me that Teresa and her childhood girlfriend and former co-worker, Mary Brenham, had been partying together the previous evening. According to Mike, Mary broke down emotionally and confessed to Teresa about murdering her daughter, Mackenzie Brenham. Later, according to Mike Wilson, Mary threatened to burn down Teresa's home if a word of this was ever spoken about the murder confession. According to Mike, Teresa is terrified of Mary. I became furious and yelled at Mike both for his and Teresa's spineless decision to succumb to Mary Brenham's threat. I sternly pointed out to Mike that this child has been murdered, and impeding a murder investigation is a criminal offense. Mike told me he was not going to get involved in some fucking murder and ordered me to remain silent. Again, I reported this to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. Recently, after confronting Mike about his illegal activities, I had been threatened with an accident. Mike said it will occur when I least expect it by his hired crackhead friends In addition, my home would be ransacked and torched if I say anything to law enforcement or seek a divorce. Teresa's home was a crack house and was busted. Mike and Teresa were not there at the time. However, her daughter was and is serving her 4th year in Marysville.
I have to wonder if the bust of the house has anything to do with the continued pressure and cover-up on Mackenzie's case. A message to Teresa to not talk. I want to tell you Vernon's response to Cynthia Wilson's letter. Vernon said to Donald that Cynthia was crazy, so the letter was discounted. What made her crazy in Vernon's eyes? Is he a mental health professional now? What makes her any crazier than Marianne, who didn't try to save her own daughter in a fire? Vernon never calls Marianne crazy, but for some reason, he discounts Cynthia Wilson's letter and says, oh, she's just crazy. It seems like Vernon says anyone's crazy who he doesn't want to deem credible. I want to know what investigation was done to rule out if what Cynthia said was true or not true. Was Mike ever interviewed? I have reached out to Mike in hopes that he gets in contact with me. So many people have come forward, and there's always safety in numbers. There was real fear and consequences that many people felt in Washington Courthouse and Jeffersonville regarding Mackenzie's case. When I was with Vernon again, I specifically asked Vernon about this. Would people be afraid to come forward? And he blew it off. When I first started this investigation about a year ago, I really hoped that Teresa would talk to me. I called and I was able to reach her the first time. She said, hey, I can't talk right now. My grandkids are here. Call me the next day. So I did.
All right, let's give Teresa a call.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available.
Hi, Teresa. It's Melissa Sandberg. I had spoke to you yesterday, and you said to give you a call on Sunday regarding the homicide of Mackenzie Brenham. So I'm just hoping that we can talk. My phone number is 224.
I tried a few more calls and texts, and nothing. It was on my second trip with Mary that we made a stop to the VFW where Teresa bartends. I wanted to get her side of what she remembers Marianne telling her and explain how critical her information is in helping solve Mackenzie's case.
We're at the VFW now. Let's see if we find answers.
Let's see if we can get our answers.
Front doors.
Okay.
Not loud.
Teresa Chafin? Yeah. Okay. And you are? I'm Melissa. We're investigating Mackenzie Brenham's murder, and so I was gonna come give her a flyer.
Mary and I took a seat at the bar and we waited for Teresa to serve us. Since we really shouldn't have been there, we just played it cool and ordered drinks until we saw our opening. It was so loud and the audio is not great, so I'm just going to tell you what happened. Teresa came over, asked us what we'd like to drink. We ordered our drinks, and then I introduced myself to Teresa and explained to her who I was and that I was the one that's been trying to reach her. Teresa shook her head in acknowledgement that she remembered me, and she said that she would be open to talking to me on Monday. We were there on a Saturday night. My hope was to interview Teresa before I left on Sunday because, again, she didn't follow through last time, and I was hoping I could sit down with her face to face. She said she couldn't do it, so to call her on Monday. I did. No answer and no call back. I still haven't heard from Teresa, but again, just as I hope that one of them reaches out to help Mackenzie's case after hearing the podcast and with the emergence of others who have come forward. Now is the time. I tend to believe what Teresa was told by Marianne is true. If it wasn't true, I believe that Teresa would have said, hey, nope, not true, never said that, she never told me that, and cleared on up. But Teresa clearly, I have been told, is afraid because her house did get raided. But there was also a cook and her husband who were at the VFW that night when Mary and I were there. We heard from other people in the bar that they also had heard Marianne say this, or that they're aware that Teresa was told this. So I approached the woman. I said, hey, I'm here investigating Mackenzie's case. Love to talk to you. I understand that you know what Marianne has said. And she said, well, I really don't want to talk because I've been drinking. And I said, okay, that's fair. But we then noticed that Teresa, this woman, and her husband were in the kitchen after we had approached them and were talking. So I clearly think that they were talking about why we were there. Mary and I left feeling really not that great. I was not confident again that Teresa was going to talk to me if it wasn't face to face, if I wasn't there in person. We called Donald to say, hey, this is what happened. Donald confirmed to Mary and I that Teresa not only confessed to Mike Wilson that Marianne told her this, but she also confessed to him. When he was doing his lives, Teresa acknowledged to him as well that Marianne confessed about killing Mackenzie. So that's two different people. I just hope that the investigator from the Ohio Attorney General's office will bring Teresa in, will bring Mike in for a formal interview. Speaking of interviews, I'm going to talk about an individual whose name got thrown out during the Facebook group about having something to do with Mackenzie's homicide and sexual abuse. His name is Brian. Brian quickly heard that his name was being thrown out there, and he reached out to me himself immediately to clear it up. You grew up in Jeffersonville?
Yes, ma'am.
How old were you in 2006?
I was born in 1984.
So you were 22 back then. Do you remember the fire?
Yeah, I do remember when that happened. I remember being told about it. Earl told my father about it.
This would be Mackenzie's grandfather, Marianne's dad. So you were 22 at the time living in Jeffersonville, and your brother as well?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I can't remember when he went into the Army and done all that.
Was he older or younger than you?
He's 8 years younger than me.
Did you know the Potters?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I knew Earl very well, and I grew up with, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Jamie, it was the younger boy. He was around my age.
How far away do you live from where Mackenzie was living at that time?
I lived on North Main Street, right there by the bridge. Right beside the bridge, literally right beside the creek. Like I said, I'm not a murderer. I'm a drug addict. I'm in recovery because I was a drug addict real bad. Like, between weed and, well, that's when weed was a drug, but between weed and beer, yeah.
Were you doing drugs when you were 22 then?
I've been smoking weed since I was 8 years old.
What?
I've been drinking since I was probably about 5. I'm 41 years old. Yes, ma'am. I have nothing to lie to you about, ma'am.
What are you doing drinking and smoking at 8 years old?
I smoking cigarettes at 5.
What? How does that happen?
My sister wanted to have sex with her boyfriend, so, pounding me off at the park and giving me cigarettes, pretty much to get off her hair for a few minutes is pretty much what she did. Both my older sisters. I got 2 older sisters, a little brother, a little sister.
I want to walk through this. So you're 22 years old. Did you know William Potter then? He was a teenager. He was 17, 18.
I knew of him. I knew more Jeremy.
Okay.
But I knew Earl very well. Earl would come talk to my dad, and he would come to my dad for, repair parts or rewire, or, some electrical in the house. My dad took care of that for people.
what someone is saying, and someone else reached out to me as well, somebody different, and they were saying that back before it was known that she was sexually assaulted, you and your brother were talking about sexually assaulting her, and setting the house on fire.
I'll agree to whatever you want me to agree to. Like I said, my DNA is on record, my fingerprints on record.
So why do you think someone would throw your name out there, your name in the hat like that?
Okay, my name always got thrown under the rock in Jeffersonville, man. Like I said, I was drinking beer going around. I don't know, like, I was an asshole back then. I was a smart ass alcoholic, like. I wasn't mean enough, but if you pissed me off, I was a smart ass. Like.
Yeah. So is it possible, though, that being a smart...
There's no way possible at all that came out of mine or my brother's mouth.
You're not joking about it, not being an asshole about it.
No, but if anything, I want to know who done it because, I'm just same as everybody else. I want justice for that little girl.
So you're not sure why someone would say that you and your brother were kind of messing with really younger girls back then?
That's definitely not true. That's definitely not true. My brother was a minor back then.
But you were 22, right?
Who cares what he did? Who cares what he did? He's not on here either. His name, needs to be. He needs to be able to see this too because this has really got me irritated, bro.
I know you can respect this as well. Is that when someone says something, you want to follow every lead, you want to talk to everybody. I mean, it's not nice getting your name.
Most definitely, that's a murder. You want to do everything you can for that little girl. Like, I agree with that. That's why I'm not hiding. I'm coming clean. Right. I'm coming to you.
I know. I appreciate that.
As soon as it was sent to me, I asked you where he got it. I got on myself and figured it out. I'm not there to stir shit up. I'm not there, but I'm there to clear my name. I've dealt with enough shit being a drug addict, my name being drug through, but I'm not having a drug through like this. Like, I'm not having it. My DNA is on record, and my fingerprints are on record. I'm a felon, so...
Is your charges drug-related?
Yeah, no.
What are they?
My first number, it was a domestic violence. And then the second number, me and Springfield PD didn't see eye to eye together.
Who do you think is responsible for this?
I honestly don't know, man. I'm not throwing names out there because I couldn't give you a name.
What's the rumors?
I heard that it was a stepfather.
Kenny?
But I'm not putting that man in dirt. Like I said, I don't want my name dragged through dirt, so I'm not going to say that it's hearsay.
Well, a lot of people talk...
And that's what Earl was talking to my father about. I didn't stand there during the conversation because it's none of my business. But that was what was told to my father.
That it was Kenny?
And he was suspected.
Are you high right now?
I smoke weed, yes ma'am. I gotta get a medical marijuana card for my probation.
Yeah. No judging. I appreciate you taking my call. If I get a lie detector test, you would take one about this?
Any day of the week.
Brian and I ended our conversation, and I have to say, I appreciate his urgency and reaching out to me right away when he heard his name was thrown out there. This is something Kenny, Marianne, William, and Jamie have never done. Huh. Brian was clearly under the influence, which really stinks for me in regards to having a clear-headed conversation. But I will say this. Brian is willing to take a lie detector test, and his DNA is on file that he said compared to the one that was found. Did Brian set this fire? No. Is this Brian's DNA? I don't know, but it's something we need to rule out. This is the time in the final episode that I like to call the murder board. Throughout the season, we have discussed the magnitude of evidence that Donald had collected. We have heard from witnesses who were never interviewed. We learned more details from those that were spoken to. We had an expert discussing the fire, and we talked about the multiple statements provided to the sheriff's office that were ignored or deemed false. So I'm going to review now the 3 areas that law enforcement and lawyers use as a framework to assess if they can prove someone is guilty using means, motive, and opportunity. Since we have 2 crimes, I'll be combining both these in the breakdown. Means. Does a suspect possess the physical capability, knowledge, or tools to commit the crime? Motive. The suspect has a reason or desire to commit the crime. Financial crime, cover up another crime, jealousy. Motive isn't always needed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt for prosecution. That's important to know, everyone. You don't have to prove motive. What motive does is help build the case, but it's not a legal requirement to prove. Opportunity. The suspect had the time and circumstances to commit the crime. Having or not having an alibi can prove or disprove the opportunity. Let's keep that in mind. We know the 3 people that were in the home when that fire started: Marianne, Kenny, and William. Let's start with Marianne. Marianne. Means. Yes, she had the means and access to the fuel that was used to start the fire. Motive. Yes, Marianne had a motive to help cover up the sexual assault that took place that night. Opportunity, 1,000%. Marianne was in that home. That's her opportunity when that fire started. She was not asleep, as she claims, given the time frame. The splash patterns prove that this was not an accident. Marianne took no action to save Mackenzie when that fire started, but did the opposite. She took every opportunity she could to delay the finding of Mackenzie. There was also neglect in this home. If you want to go with Marianne's story, then go ahead with that story. According to her own admission, there was kerosene heaters in the house that she said there was fuel that leaked up and down those stairs, and just so happened it catches on fire. Okay, Marianne, because you knew those heaters causing fuel to be dropped, that was an issue, but you still ran them anyway. You still turned them on. And also, there were no smoke detectors, and you have nailed Mackenzie's windows shut. Kenny, here we go. Means. Kenny was seen filling the gas cans the day before the fire. The gas cans were sitting on the porch the same day of the fire that was seen by Amanda Kay and Teddy. Motive. Kenny's motive would be the same as Marianne's. They were covering for the person who was sexually assaulting Mackenzie. Opportunity. Kenny was in the home at the time of the fire, so he has the opportunity. Someone poured gasoline in the foyer and up and down those stairs. They had a dog in the house that would have alerted to an intruder. Both Marianne and his stories change multiple times. William. Means. Yes, William could have used the fuel in the home to start the fire. Motive. Yes, William was in the home that night and something happened. Did something happen when Marianne and Kenny were at the bar? William has a history that has been documented of sexual abuse to Mackenzie. That's a pretty big motive. Opportunity. This is the big one, everyone. William has no alibi. Remember, the definition of an opportunity is either an alibi can or cannot confirm the ability to commit the crime. William has no alibi, 0. He was not seen when that fire started. He wasn't seen by the neighbors trying to rescue Mackenzie. He wasn't at home when that fire started. Kenny and William both said that he was there and moved the truck when that fire started. He also claimed that he was at his girlfriend's house, which he wasn't. William continues to change his story, and he has no alibi. Why is he the one that has no alibi? All 3 of these individuals are yeses in every category because I believe they're all in it together. They're all yes, 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 yes. Given the timeline of when this fire happened and the fact that Mackenzie did not even attempt to escape, that her bedroom door was left open when it was always closed, that she was sexually assaulted, and the lack of actions that Marianne and Kenny didn't take, I strongly believe that if you put all of this evidence that we've talked about this season before a grand jury, you will get the green light. That's the murder board, everyone. You have 3 individuals, as I mentioned, in the home who all have the means, motive, and opportunity, and that's why they continue to move together and stay together. They are all equally, I believe, involved in this homicide and sexual assault. And if you get them alone and you actually interrogate them, give them lie detector tests on the sexual assault, we will get our answers. You just have to want to do it. I don't want to end the season on that note with those 3. I don't want to do it. I want to focus on Mackenzie and Donald. That's how I want to end the season, because that has been the focus from day one. Donald has spent 19 years of his life fighting for his daughter every single day. He has not given up, and he won't give up until the truth is brought to light. Mackenzie was Donald's light and still is very much part of his everyday world, to the point where I want to share a letter that he wrote.
In memory of Mackenzie, you took the only daughter that was special to me in her little ways. She had big dreams of being someone. She touched a lot of hearts in her ways. Whether you were sad or happy, you always remember Mac. Mackenzie. She always talked about God, but I don't think she was ready to meet him yet. I can remember the memories, and I can't think of any bad ones. She always lifted up my life. She stood by me, and she kept me out of trouble when things were going bad. She tells me just take a breath, Dad, and pray God helps those who help themselves. And she was right. I remember when she made me a cross necklace. And she said, don't take it off until you have us. My daughter reminded me that I wasn't a man, a boy, but a father. And when you think like a father, people listen. She was right. She was my hero. Without her wisdom, I couldn't have made it this far. And now I know she's with me. She still guides me. Sometimes I wish I could hold her again. But she reminds me that one day I will. My little Mac has made me a better person. She's made me a stronger father. She helps me a lot with my sons. Sometimes she was mom to them instead of being a child. She took the responsibility of knowing I needed help, and she used to help dress them, make sure they got up for school, help them with homework, help me cook and clean house. I remember I asked my children, would they rather have toys or hugs and kisses from Dad? And Max said, hugs and kisses, because they're forever. Toys break, and you throw them away, and she was just 6 years old. I didn't lose a daughter. I gained an angel, and no one can ever take that away from me again. She's now always with me, and time I need her, she's right there. I can tell her I love you, and time say my prayers with her and talk to her anytime with no courts or mom stopping me. I'm a great father and always will be. If you stop and listen to your child, you learn a lifetime in minutes. The biggest fear a child has is losing a parent. A parent's biggest fear is losing a child. So who wins? Nobody. So always cherish your memories. A child is born in a world of hate. So a parent should raise the child with love and take responsibility. When you put your child first, then and only then, you're a father. Loving a child doesn't cost anything, doesn't hurt, doesn't take time away. Mackenzie always reminded me that she's there, especially at my darkest hours, to show me how to live, to show me how to give, and guide me with a light of love. She knows I have them boys, and when I need her, she'll be right there to help me. My baby girl is the greatest, and I thank God and the courts that I had the opportunity to have memories of my daughter, to see her grow into a young lady
before she left. I'm a hero to her because I never gave up. I believed in my children, and when I felt like giving up, she'd tell me, turn to God. I'm glad that her last memories was coming home. I just wish she would have made it because she knew my arms were open and I always had time and love for her. It hurts because I would have died holding her that night. I put my arms around her and I'd have laid my head against her and closed my eyes and said, let's go together, my baby. I would have gave my whole life to trade her and took her place because she would have done the same for me. Love you, Mackenzie, your father.
As much tragedy, corruption, cover-up, and injustice involved in this case, there are so many beautiful things that happened in this season. The community and the people across the states and country who pulled together to be Mackenzie's voice. To stand next to Donald and say, we got you. To be Mackenzie's voice. You are demanding accountability. You showed up to a rally for the truth and justice. This is the most beautiful thing to see, a cold case be brought back to light, to see the work that we all did together. But it doesn't end here, everyone. Justice doesn't end until the people responsible are held accountable for what they did. Do not let your foot off the gas, but keep it planted on the pedal. Once you let up, the energy drops. Keep it going. Keep the conversation going. Keep Mackenzie in your heart and your soul. And with that, I want Mackenzie's prayer that she said every night before she went to bed to be the last thing that we hear, to remind us all what this season has been all about. Mackenzie Taylor Brenham. Thank you for listening.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Angels watch me through the night and wake me with the morning light. Amen.
Dog with a Bone is hosted by Melissa Sandberg, investigated, produced, and written by Melissa Sandberg. Additional writing by Caitlin Sandberg. Edited by Jason Sandberg. Mixed and mastered by Morrow Mixing and Mastering. Theme music by Alex Yukich. Dog with a Bone is a Sasquatch production.